morning everyone. So welcome back to your biology theory class. And in my first class I have discussed some basic terminologies which are related to the chapter human reproduction. And today I will continue with the male and female reproductive system. Okay. So first I will discuss about the male reproductive system. Everyone please switch off your microphone. Everyone please switch off your microphone. Okay, so first you have to know that what are the different parts of the male reproductive system and what is the location of the male reproductive system. Okay, so now if I consider the first one, that is location. As I know that already you have read all these in the class 10. So in the class 12 you will read the same part but in quite in detailing form. Okay. So first one is the location. So what is the position or location of the male reproductive system? So it is located in the pelvic region. Okay, it is located in the pelvic region. So now what are the different parts of the male reproductive system? So first one, as you know that reproductive structures or sex organs are divided into two types, primary sex organs and secondary sex organs. So what are the differences between these two? Primary sex organ means organs which are related directly involved with the gamete production. That means in case of male it is the testes, and in case of female the primary sex organ is ovary, as from the testes sperms will be produced and from the ovary eggs or ova will be produced. Okay, so as they are directly involved with the gamete production, so these are considered as primary sex organ. And some organs which are related with the reproductive system but they are not directly involved with the production of the gamete. Okay, so the organs which are not directly involved with the production of the gamete but they are taking part in the reproduction, these organs are considered as secondary sex organs. Okay, so now as I have mentioned that in case of male, first I will discuss about the male reproductive system. So in case of male, the main or primary sex organ is testes. What is the number? A pair of testes are present. So whenever we will call it in the plural form, we will call them testes. Okay, so the singular form is testes and the plural one is testes. Okay, and what are the different other parts? Different accessory glands and ducts are present. Accessory ducts, some accessory ducts and glands, accessory ducts, glands and external genitalia. External genitalia, these are the main parts of the male reproductive system. I am repeating: a pair of testes with some accessory ducts and some accessory glands and external genitalia. So now we will see what are the different position of those parts and what are the function of those parts. Okay, so first, as I have mentioned that the male reproductive system is located in the pelvic region, but if we consider the testes, so as we know that it is extra abdominal, that means it is located outside the abdomen. Why? When the testes has been formed, that means before the birth it was in the abdominal cavity, but after the birth it will come to the scrotum. Okay, which is not inside the abdomen, it is the outside of the abdomen. That is why it is considered as extra abdominal. So there is a narrow canal which is considered as inguinal canal. After the prior to the birth, the testes will come to the canal and will descend into the scrotal pouch. Okay, and the canal through which it will pass, it is considered as inguinal canal. Okay, so now if I say that what is the location of the testes, you will say the testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch called scrotum. Okay, it is the present outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch which is considered as scrotum. Why? Because for the development on the maturation and the formation of the sperm, 2 to 3 degree less temperature than the body temperature is required. That is why it is present outside the abdomen. Okay, so I am repeating that what is the function of the presence of testes in the scrotum, because scrotum helps in the maintaining the low temperature of the testis, that means 2 to 2.5 degrees centigrade lower than the normal body temperature. Sorry. Now what is the need? Because it will help in the process of the spermatogenesis, that means formation of the sperm, maturation of the sperm. Okay, for this 2 to 2.5 degrees centigrade less temperature is required than the body temperature. Now come to the length and shape of the testis. It is about 4 to 5 centimeter in width and about 2 to 3 centimeter. Sorry, it is about 4 to 5 centimeter in length and 2 to 3 centimeter in width. Okay, this is the normal size of the testis. Now, as you can remember that, so these are the different testes, like this, some ducts will come to this part, right? Now inside that we will get the testes. So now if I make a cross section, then we will find some structure. That means the testis is covered by a dense covering, and this covering is considered as tunica albuginea. Okay, the testis is covered with a dense covering and it is considered as tunica albuginea, and inside the testis you will find some testicular lobules like that. Some testicular lobules are present inside the compartments. Okay, so in the testis it is covered by a dense covering, and each testis is having about 250 compartments which are considered as testicular lobules. Okay, now if you see that one lobule, inside that one lobule you will find 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules. Okay, so each lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules, and inside that seminiferous tubules sperms will be produced. Okay, now if we draw the large view, if I make a cross section and then if we see the large view of the seminiferous tubules, then we will be able to see the different parts and where spermatogenesis or process of formation of the sperm is taking place. Okay, so now if we see the sectional view of the seminiferous tubule, then we will find this type of round shape structures. Okay, this type of round shape structures, and inside that I am just drawing a rough diagram. This type of development or the process of spermatogenesis is taking place. Okay, so in this part, inside that part, some pyramidal shaped cells are present which are considered as Sertoli cell. And the cells which are present at the periphery to the middle portion, these are the different developmental stage. That means the first one is spermatogonia, then primary spermatocyte, then secondary spermatocyte, and at the end you will find the spermatozoa. Okay, that means this is the total process of the spermatogenesis, and in between the structure, some this type of cells you will find, these are considered as interstitial cells or Leydig cells. Okay, so now let me tell you once more that each seminiferous tubule is lined on its each seminiferous tubules is lined on its inside by two types of cells. Okay, two types of cells we will find. First one is male germ cells. First type of cell is male germ cells, which are considered as spermatogonia, that cells which are helping in the development of the sperm. And the second one is Sertoli cells. I have shown to you which one is the Sertoli cells. Okay, so the male germ cells will undergo the cell division, particularly the meiotic type of cell division, and it will help in the formation of the sperm, which is generally considered as the process of spermatogenesis. Okay, and what is the function of Sertoli cells? Sertoli cells will provide the nutrition to the sperm. Okay, Sertoli cell will provide to the nutrition to the sperm cell for the proper development of the sperm. Now, the region outside the seminiferous tubule is the region, the space is considered as interstitial space, and some cells are present. You can see these are considered as interstitial cells or Leydig cells. These cells will help in the synthesizing and the secreting of the androgens, particularly in case of male, you know that testosterone. So, the testosterone hormones will be produced by the interstitial cells or Leydig cells. Okay, and some other immunologically component cells are also present there. Now, this is the main part or the testis part. Now, come to the other accessory gland or duct. Again, I am telling you that I am drawing a rough diagram. If you want that you can draw, you can check it from the book also. Okay, so just check that. So these are the testes, and inside the testes we will find some compartments which are considered as testicular lobules, and the sperm seminiferous tubules are present inside that lobules, and sperms will be produced inside the seminiferous tubules. So after the production of the sperms in the seminiferous tubules, it will pass to the some accessory ducts. Okay, so what are the different accessory ducts that can be found in case of male reproductive system? These are retitestis, vasa deferentia, epididymis, and vas deferens. Okay, so it will be better if you check the diagram from the book, which is in the page number 43. Then you will get a clear idea. Okay, so the testes will be produced inside the seminiferous tubules, and after the sperms will be produced inside the seminiferous tubules, and after that these seminiferous tubules of the testes will open into the structure which is considered as retitestis. Okay, there it will open into a structure which is considered as retitestis, and the retitestis will join into a structure which is considered as vasa efferentia. So first one, the sperms will be produced inside the seminiferous tubules, and it will move the sperm to the retitestis, and through the retitestis it will pass to the vasa efferentia. Okay, so from the vasa efferentia, if you see a clear diagram, then you will find this type of structure here. Okay, so after reaching to the vasa efferentia, this part is divided into three parts, this upper portion, middle portion, and the lower portion. Okay, and so after reaching the vasa efferentia, it will pass to the epididymis, and this epididymis is divided into three parts: corpus epididymis, caput epididymis, like this. Okay, so then it will pass to the epididymis, and after that epididymis, what is the position of the epididymis? That epididymis is located along the posterior surface of the testes. It is present along the posterior surface of the testes, and then it will lead to the vas deferens that ascends to the abdomen and loops over the urinary bladder. Now here it will loop over the urinary bladder like this. Okay, it will loop over the urinary bladder like this. And why? Because as you know that in case of male, the pathway for the passing of the urine and the sperm is the same. That means the urinary system and the genital system is they are performing their function togetherly. That's why it is considered as, in case of male, that is, it is urinogenital system. Urinogenital system. Okay, so it will loop over, and so these are the different ductus system in case of male. That is why they will come under the axillary ducts. That means they will not performing the main function of the production of the sperm, but they are helping in the passing or movement of the sperm. That is why these are the considered as axillary ducts. Okay, so now come to the next part, that after this vast difference part, it will receive the duct, it will receive a duct from the seminal vesicle, and it will open into the urethra as a ejaculatory duct. So here you will get some small size duct, 2 leaf size duct, after that 2 small ball like structure duct. Okay, these glands, sorry, not duct, glands. So these are the considered as seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and at the end bulbourethral gland. Okay, the leaf-like structure is considered as seminal vesicle. The secretion of the seminal vesicle will open into a small duct, and it will be mixed into and it will form into a ejaculatory duct. Okay. Now these ducts store and transport the sperm from the testis to the outside through the urethra. Okay, and the urethra, as you know that urethra is the part of the urinary bladder, that means urinary system, and it will extend through the penis through an external opening which is called as urethral meatus. Okay, this term is very important. So what is urethral meatus? That the urethra originates from the urinary bladder and extends through the penis. So urethra will originate from the urinary bladder and it will extend through the penis, right? And the penis too is and extends to the penis and through an external opening. Okay, it will extend through a penis to an external opening. This is considered as urethral meatus. Okay, now as I have mentioned that there are some glands. So what is the role of those glands? You have to know that part also. That the secretion of those accessory glands will help in the movement of the sperm. Okay, so that means the secretion of that seminal vesicle, bulbourethral gland and prostate gland will help the sperm to pass easily, because for the movement of the sperm a fluid medium is required. So that fluid medium will be provided by the secretion of these glands. Okay, so secretion of these glands constitute the seminal plasma. Their secretion in general it is termed as seminal plasma. And what are the composition of this secretion? They will contain the fructose, calcium, certain enzyme. Okay, and particularly the secretion of the bulbourethral glands and also helps in the lubrication of the penis. Okay, so at the time of the intercourse, when the penis will move to the female vagina, that time a lubricating medium will be required. So that lubricating medium will be provided by the bulbourethral gland. Okay, and the fructose part is only present in that seminal plasma. It will not be present in any other parts of our body. Okay, so the presence or absence of the fructose will be taken for the Rep test to so now come to the next part, that is that another part that is secreted from this gland, that is that it is making the seminal plasma basic in nature, that means alkaline in nature. Why? Because the sperm need to pass through the acidic medium, because in the vagina, in case of female vagina, they are maintaining a acidic environment, so the sperm need to pass through the acidic environment. So if it is in the normal condition or neutral condition, the sperm may get destroyed in the acidic environment. That is why they are secreting a fluid and making the seminal plasma alkaline. That is why when they will pass through the female vagina, they will not be destroyed. Okay, why? Because acid plus basic, that means it will be converted into neutral form and the sperms will be alive. Okay, so these are the different functions. That means for making the seminal plasma acidic, for secreting the fructose, it will help the providing the nutrition to the sperm. They will provide the sperm the motility. They will help in the secreting of the lubricating medium. So these are the main functions of those glands. Now come to the last part, that is the external genitalia. In case of male, as you know that it is the penis, and it is made up of special tissues which helps in the erection of the penis to facilitate the insemination. Okay, so you know the meaning of the insemination. Already I have discussed in the first class. So the penis will help in the insemination, and a special type of tissue which is called as erectile tissue is present in the penis, which will help in the erection of the penis. Okay, now you will be able to find out that at the top of the at the end part of the penis, there is a structure which is considered as glans penis. Okay, so you will this fold of skin will be there around the penis. This is considered as foreskin, and the tip of the penis is considered as, this portion is considered as glans penis. Okay, so I am repeating that two parts at the top of the penis or at the tip of the penis, you will get that the enlarged end of the penis is considered as glans penis, and it is covered by a loose fold of the skin. It is considered as foreskin. Okay, so sometimes what happen is that foreskin covers the opening. Okay, so that time surgery is required. The doctors will cut the tip portion of the skin of the foreskin, and then it will be very easy to pass the urine through the pathway. Okay, so this type of penis is considered as circumcised penis. Okay, so this is all about the male reproductive system. Now let me start the female reproductive system. So first again I will start with the position. So what is the position of the female reproductive system? Again it is in the lower abdomen, or you can say that these are the in the pelvic region mainly. Okay, so the female reproductive system is mainly made up of a pair of ovaries, after that fallopian tube, after that uterus, after that cervix, vagina. Okay, so and some external genitalia also will be present in case of female also. So I am repeating that a female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries along with a pair of oviducts, or you can call them fallopian tube, and uterus, cervix, vagina, and the external genitalia. And the location of the female reproductive system is again in the pelvic region. Okay, and these parts of the system along with a pair of the mammary glands are integrated structurally and functionally to support the process of the ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, child and birth and child care. Okay, so with the female reproductive system, first I will discuss about those organs, and after that you have to know about the mammary gland also. Okay, so now first let me draw a rough diagram. So first I will start with the ovary. So you can see the number of ovary is 2. So a pair of ovaries are present. Okay, a pair of ovaries are present. So ovaries are the female sex organs that produce the female gamete or ovum. Now, several steroid hormones which are considered as ovarian hormones that will also be released from the different cells of the ovaries. I will discuss all this one by one. Okay, so now what is the position of the ovaries? It is present at the lower abdomen. Ovaries are located on each side of the lower abdomen of the pelvic wall and the uterus by the ligaments. Okay, so this is the position of the ovary. It is present in the lower abdominal cavity, and you can see that these ovaries are attached with some ligaments with the uterus. Okay, it is not possible that they will hang, so some attachment is required. So ovaries are attached with the ligaments through the ligaments with the uterus. Okay, now what is the size and shape of the ovary? It is each ovary is about 2 to 4 centimeter in length, and it is, as I have told you, that how they are connected by the uterus. Okay, and again the ovaries are covered by a thin epithelium which closes the ovarian stroma. If you see the large view of the ovary, then you will find the different developmental stages of the ovary. Now this outer portion is considered as stroma and the inner portion is considered as medulla. Okay, first this is the enlarged view of the ovary, and that is how the ovaries are divided into parts. So I am repeating, the outer portion is considered as stroma and the inner portion is the medulla. That means the sorry, let me, I have used that wrong term, that is the cortex. Sorry, cortex and medulla. So each ovary is covered by a thin epithelium which encloses the ovarian stroma. Okay, and this part is the stroma, and the stroma is divided into two parts. The the peripheral portion is the cortex and the inner portion is the medulla. Okay, so inside that ovary, the different developmental stages of this type of developmental stages will take place. Okay, I will discuss it later on. Now come to the next part, that is the oviduct or fallopian tube. So what is the function of the ovary? It will help in the production of the female gamete, that is the egg or ovum. Okay, now next part, that is the oviduct or fallopian tube. So that oviduct or the fallopian tube, you can see the number is again 2. After that you will get the uterus and the vagina. They will constitute the accessory ducts. Okay, in case of male we have seen different accessory ducts. So these are the different accessory part in case of female. So now come to the next part, that is fallopian tube or oviduct. It is near about 10 to 12 centimeter long and extends from the periphery of the each ovary. You can see that they are extending from the periphery of the each ovary and passing to the uterus. So this tube-like structure is considered as fallopian tube or oviduct. Okay, now this fallopian tube and oviduct is divided into some parts. They are having some finger-like projection which are considered as fimbriae. They are having some finger-like projections which are considered as fimbriae. After that you will get that part that is considered as infundibulum. After that this part is considered as ampulla. Okay, so these are, and last portion, this part is considered as isthmus. So these are the different parts of the fallopian tube. So the edges of the infundibulum, you can see they are having some finger-like projections. The edges of the infundibulum are having some finger-like projections which are considered as fimbri, which will help in the collection of the ovum after the ovulation. Okay, it will help in the collection of the ovum after the ovulation. Now infundibulum will leads to, and after that infundibulum will leads to an wider part, you can see. So this part is considered as ampulla. This wider part of the oviduct is considered as ampulla, and the last part of the oviduct is considered as isthmus. Okay, it is a quite narrow, and this narrower part will join to the uterus part. Now come to the next part, that is uterus, which is also in generally considered as womb. The shape of the uterus, you can see it is a quite inverted pear shape. So this is, if you see that this is a pear, right? Now if you make it inverted form, so the uterus, the shape of the uterus is considered as it is inverted pear shape, and it is supported by the ligaments attached to the pelvic wall. Okay, and the uterus will open into the next part, that is considered as the vagina, through a narrow cavity which is considered as cervix. So this part is considered as cervix, and this part is considered as vagina. Okay, so the uterus will pass to the vagina through a narrow cavity which is considered as cervix, and this narrow canal of the cervix is considered as cervical canal, which will at the time of the birth of the baby, which will form a birth canal, or you can call it a cervical canal. Okay, now in case of uterus, it is having 3 walls. So you can see the walls. So the outer portion is considered as perimetrium, inner one is considered as myometrium, and middle one, and the inner one is considered as endometrium. So these are the 3 different layers that can be found in case of uterus. So I am repeating that from this portion you can call it the external. So the external membranous one is perimetrium, middle thick layer is myometrium, and the inner glandular layer is endometrium, and after that a cavity is present which is considered as uterine cavity. Okay, so this myometrium, first the endometrium undergoes cyclical changes during the menstrual cycle. During the menstrual cycle, it will set off, okay, as some glands are present, blood vessels are present, so some bloods also will be released at the time of menstruation, and the myometrium exhibits strong contraction during the delivery of the baby. So during the delivery of the baby, contraction and relaxation of the muscle is required, and that can be occurred particularly in the myometrium layer. Okay, so these are the different parts of the female accessory part. So some external genitalia are also there. I will discuss all this in my next class. Okay, so for today that's it. If you are having any doubt, you can ask me. Any doubt? Anubhav, this is the theory class, so here you can ask me about the theory part, right? When I will take your practical class, I will discuss all the practical syllabus. It will help in the production of the androgens, that means male hormones, particularly the testosterone. Clear? So for today that's it. Thank you and bye bye everyone.